Meanwhile, this morning we've been reacting to Phillip Schofield and this breaking his silence with this exclusive interview with the Sun newspaper over his affair with a younger colleague. In an exclusive with the Sun, he's revealed that he's utterly broken and ashamed, but he's stressed that he didn't groom him.
We became mates. And then one day, something happened that just changed it.
There were accusations that you groomed him. I'm just going to let you answer the question.
I did not. I did not.
Yeah.
There is no question I did a bad thing. Unprofessional. First time. I know I did that.
Yeah.
The last time we had a conversation was when I texted Holly and said, don't reply. This is after the statement last week. Don't reply. You're probably not allowed to. But I am deeply, deeply sorry that I lied to you.
Now we've had media commentator Nigel Pawley reacting to the latest revelations.
I wanted to feel sympathy for Phillip Schofield, looking at that. I wanted to, but the answers just weren't ringing particularly true to me. It didn't seem like a real mea culpa. It looked like someone who was going through the script of what he needs to say to move on from this.
While Graham Goodkind, chair and founder of Frank PR, he's not sure whether Schofield can restore his reputation.
I think will be easier to forgive ITV. They'll just go on, they'll get some shiny new presenters, a new format, a new style content for the show, and it will be able to be swept under the rug. As for Schofield, I think it's going to be a much, much bigger rug to sweep his stuff under.
Well, what a scoop this interview was. This Phillip Schofield exclusive interview in The Sun. It is driving all the discussion and the chat this morning across the news agenda, despite the fact that there are so many other stories that I know that you want us to talk about, and we will be. Meanwhile, joining me in the studio, Emily Webber, Deputy Showbiz Editor at The Sun on Sunday. Emily, good morning. Thank you for coming into our studios here. Look, this is a story, it keeps running and running. We've been talking about it now for 16 days. We've seen the destruction and the fall from grace of one of the UK's greatest, best-known faces and presenters. It is big news. Why has he agreed to do this interview now?
Morning, James. It's honestly an extraordinary interview, and watching the videos, you can tell this is a man who is a shell of what we once knew him as. Obviously, this goes on for pages in The Sun, and it really lays it all out. And obviously, with Twitter, with TikTok, there's so many. There's tweets, there's memes, there's videos, and this is his chance to put his point across.
It's true, but then he's lied before, so there's a danger that people will think he's lying now or not giving us the full story. I have still questions resulting from this. And I'm worried that he's spoken too soon and that he's spoken without giving enough thought as to the messages that he should have given about those around him who are the collateral damage.
Yes, definitely. Obviously, this interview comes, we're sort of, as you say, 16 days into it. It's rumbling on, it's gathering pace as the days go on. We're getting more information about it, and he's sort of done it in the midst of all that, as you say, in terms of, putting it out there. Maybe he should have waited a couple of weeks longer to see what else comes out. We haven't had the external investigation yet that this morning are going to do. So, that could possibly lead to more questions.
So you're Deputy Showbiz Editor at The Sun on Sunday. You're obviously thinking, presumably now, as you'll be whipping downstairs to go and decide whether or not, is this a story that still continues, has legs? What's the next angle here? Because we've heard from him, I guess, until or unless, and we may never, by the way, hear from the man concerned, the younger lover. If we don't hear that story, then these comments that Phillip Schofield has made can never really be corroborated.
Yes, as you say, there's always two sides to every story, and we've only heard Phillip's account. He's obviously had briefings, he's thought about this before, he's gone into this interview, but as you can see on the video, he's a shell of a man of what we once knew him as, and you can't deny that when you see somebody laying his sort of soul on the
presumably we need to
camera.
be concerned for his welfare,
Yeah.
regardless of whatever has happened or hasn't happened, his welfare and also the welfare of the younger man concerned, who I'm sure that some people will, despite any restrictions or otherwise, or the fact that he said that he doesn't want to talk about it, this is a significant problem that exists when the media storm exists. I mean, I guess, what's it like to be caught in that level of intensive scrutiny? Because presumably you cannot look outside your window, you cannot go down the street, you cannot look at any form of media, because all the news, I mean, look, even the highbrow news bulletins and agendas, it's everywhere.
Exactly, and this is the story which, as you say, covers all aspects. It's the people that watch This Morning at home before they're taking their kids to school. It's even going to Parliament. So, everybody is having their opinion on this. And in terms of it, obviously rumbling on, we need to see what happens to This Morning, as you say.
OK, let's have a quick fire round. You
Yeah.
say that on This Morning. Can This Morning survive as a format? Does it need to change?
I think his sort of part in it as it stands at the moment is so integral, and we associate that sofa with him and Holly. So I think unless it has a format change in some sense, then,
OK, so we can keep Dermot, we can keep Alison, we can possibly keep Holly. The name has to change, the music has to change, the format has to change. They probably should have done that already.
Definitely, when you hear the titles rolling, when you see the sofa, you think, where's Phil? Where's Holly? It needs to change in some sense.
Yeah. OK. So that's got to happen. The second thing is, how long can senior execs at ITV hide behind? Well, we just didn't know, because the thing is that the industry knew. The Sun, it is reported, had details of this back in 2019. You were asking the questions. They denied it. Philip denied it, ITV denied it, everybody denied it. You knocked on the door, and this story was everywhere. It was an open secret, wasn't it?
So obviously the rumour mill on Twitter, on TikTok, this has been going on not just in 16 days, this has been going on for months. People have been asking questions, and I think unless this external investigation, really probes the top bosses, then people are still going to be feeling disappointed.
And I suppose, look, this is the issue as well, is that when the media asks questions, particularly of other media companies, you do expect, to have the truth told to you. And this is where perhaps we've got the issue with ITV and ITV execs. Graham Goodkind, and indeed, when I was speaking, with Nigel Pawley, they suggested that maybe heads will have to roll. The question is it at television level or corporate level? ITV's share price has fallen substantially. They're potentially now a takeover target. I mean, this is how serious it is. Will heads have to roll, do you think?
So, yeah, of course, in the past couple of days we've seen their big sponsors, Arnold Clark, they said they're not renewing their contract with them in the autumn. And, this is a huge show which really depends on big money going into it. It depends on sponsorships. It also depends on viewers calling in as well to make this what it is. So I think it really, unless it's, the top bosses that are having that reshuffle, then, can it carry on? Now,
The Sun have said that no money changed hands to do this interview. I'm assuming that Phillip Schofield has some advice. Who on earth didn't tell him not to have a vape? I mean, it's a terrible look. Here you are, presenting TV and all this sort of business, and then, you have a vape whilst you're doing an interview that is being filmed. I mean, that was bad advice, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's clutching this vape throughout all of it, and you do think, what can you not put the vape down? But as he says, he's on the Southern Comfort, he's shaking. Maybe the vape he thought would show that he really is struggling. So yeah, I mean,
I see the struggles, I see the other things. Look, this story continues. And I guess, look, the spotlight has to go back onto ITV and the senior management, doesn't it? I mean, he's said his bit, and I guess we're looking and waiting to see. Holly is expected back on Monday. Are we going to hear any more from her, from her £8 million house that she's been staying at in Portugal?
Yeah, so obviously we've seen...
these people are extremely wealthy, aren't they?
Yeah, so we've seen the photos of her in Portugal on the beach. Obviously, she's having to face the music on Monday, and everybody will be waiting to see what actually does happen on Monday. Whether Holly will be on it, we understand that she will be, but it's just interesting to see what happens in the next 48 hours.
And indeed, and as you say, see what happens in the next 48 hours. I'm assuming that you at The Sun and The Sun on Sunday, you will be keeping a very close eye on this story. Should we expect further revelations over the weekend?
I believe so. I feel like, as things go on, as hour by hour, we're getting even more, obviously we've seen the interview with the BBC this morning as well. So, yes, definitely want to keep an eye on. OK, just finally, before I let you go, was this a Prince Andrew interview, do you think, of Phillip Schofield, or do you think he did better than that? In terms of the revelations that came out?
The revelations and whether this all unravels.
I think, when you put yourself in a camera situation, where you've got nothing to hide, I think it is on par with the Prince Andrew interview. Well,
there we go. Emily Webber, I know you're busy. Thank you so much for coming in to see us. Emily is Deputy Showbiz Editor at The Sun on Sunday. Don't forget that our sister publication is going to have continued coverage. You can find it on there. You'll find it here on Talk.